All right, Joshua, can you bring it down just a bit? Alfie. Whew. Recording during quarantine. Don't make any...
Hi, sorry. Sorry, I love you.
Alfie.
Sorry.
The only reason why I'm in here is because I'm going to be in the active video.
Day 8, send help. Hey everyone, this is the video for the behind the scenes of my cooking video and an introduction to LumaPro. So let's first talk about the behind the scenes. Let me go find that footage. So this cooking video of mine is like an initial idea. This is the sketch, it's a rough draft. There's a lot I would like to change about it. The problem I have with my cooking video is that it's a cooking video. It's like, here I am in my kitchen cooking a meal. So I try to bring stories to it. I'd like to bring, just having conversation. If you came to my house, I would cook you a meal and we'd hang out in my kitchen and we'd talk. So I kind of want it to be that. For lighting, I decided just to keep it simple. I didn't need a rim light because it was so bright outside that day that I shot that there was plenty of light coming in from all the windows. So for my main light, I just used that newer little light panel with the pop-up softbox that comes with that kit. And I put it on a Manfrotto boom arm to just kind of boom it out over me and to keep it out of the camera shot. So the biggest technical problem I had with this was audio. As I said in previous videos, that while I'm starting to make content again, I need to just keep it simple and easy, and it's a mental block for me to start pulling out all the cameras, cleaning sensors, charging batteries, making sure all the cables to the wireless labs are good, and on and on and on and on. I just need simplicity, so I'm shooting these things on my phone. But for the cooking video, it's not just me sitting at a table. I needed to be moving around and going to my refrigerator and to my sink and doing things like that. So I needed to be more mobile. So what I figured out what I would do is I used my old iPhone 7, which I am using right now as my Filmic remote. I took this old iPhone 7, I set it up to the same frame rate that was shooting the video, which was 30 frames per second. So my old iPhone 7 basically became my lav pack and my B-roll camera all in one. Down on the right side of my little kitchen island, I had the iPad running Filmic remote so I could see what my main camera was seeing. Lastly, I added my Fuji X-A7 onto a little Manfrotto tripod, and I thought I'll just pop that in for B-roll and things like that. But as I was shooting, I would either A, forget that I had it sitting over on standby, and then B, when I was chopping garlic, the battery died. I thought I had had a full battery. I thought the battery was fully charged, popped it in there when I started shooting, and nope. So aside from, using the Fuji there a few times, pretty much all my B-roll was just shot with my iPhone 7 that was sitting in my back pocket the whole time I was filming. It's a bit of a hacked job, yes, I know. I could set up my Panasonics and external monitors and run all the cables and do the lav mics and boom arms and all of that, but I would rather take producing content than not producing anything at all. All right, for this LumaFusion tutorial, I'm just basically showing you how I use the app. There are more things under the hood than I may get to in this. If you're someone who's just gotten LumaFusion and you're just wanting to get started, then this will be a good guide for you. So I was going to shoot the over-the-shoulder shots with my Fuji X-A7 here, but then my youngest Hawk came up and was like, Dad, I'm bored and I can't go outside because there's pollen and we can't go anywhere because there's virus. I'm bored. And I'm like, well, I need another Caleb, so son, it's time to raise you up to be the next Caleb. All right, Hawk, B-roll.
I'm gonna go grab my camera.
And just like Caleb, his camera's sitting at like 9% battery level. So he is right on the right track. Good job, Hawk. And you know the shot, right? We talked about it. We got to have corner to corner down here, right?
Yep.
You're good?
3, 2, 1.
This is the basic setup for LumaFusion. So you have your main timeline down here, right, that you can scrub through. You can use 2 fingers to zoom in on your timeline or out. And if you want to see a larger preview of the video you're working on, simply double tap that and that will pop up and you can go and scrub through your timeline like that. Double tap takes it back down. When you're just getting started, you're going to hit this little button in the lower left corner. That brings up all of your different projects that you have going on right now. And if you want to make a new one, you hit the plus button. You can name your project, whatever. And at this point, you choose your frame rate and your aspect ratio. For these videos I'm making for YouTube, I'm doing 30 frames per second, and I'm doing a 16:9 landscape. If you're making things for, say, your Instagram stories, then you can go in here and make that a 9:16 vertical. Once you've got a project started, you can pull in your videos and pictures and audio from several different places. This little button right up here will bring up Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, your files, wherever you want to maybe import things from. This little flower icon in the top left corner will bring up a different set of sources. So either your photos, that's your camera roll on your iPad, files, things you've imported, story blocks. I'll get into story blocks in a second. You also have titles and transitions in this little menu item. So if I click on videos, then these are my most recent videos. These are the clips from the little cooking video that I made. And I can start to choose from these. Let me open up a new project and show you how I sync clips. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 2 different clips. One is going to be used for the audio. The other one is the main video that I need. Now this is different than these just sit down videos. I'll show you that in a second. So I'm going to select this one. This is my audio clip. This is that second phone that I had in my back pocket. Turn my volume up. And we're recording intro, take 1, clap. And I give that clap because in the other video, coming from my iPhone 11 on the tripod, I have the same thing. We're recording intro, take 1. Clap. Okay, so what I want is I want to get video from before that clap, and I'm going to hit this little bracket right there, and I'm going to come into this video, and I can see right here on the waveform that that's the clap somewhere in there, the clap. And now I'm just going to simply drag it to the timeline. I'm going to hit this little button to take me back to the beginning. Double click that. And I can see the clap on the wave there. Now I'm going to bring my main video up, drop it in, and I'm looking for that same peak. And that is how I'm going to line these 2 clips up. So I get them fairly close to each other, then zoom in, and pull that until it lines up. Okay, so what I've done is I have cut that, and I'm going to delete this. Now watch what happens. I have this little button right here turned to its insert feature. And when I click on this main track and I hit delete, or the trash can button, it's going to delete and pull everything right back to the start. Boom. So that's the beginning of my timeline. So now that my clips are linked up, I can see that those waveforms are linked. I want to keep the video of the top track, but I don't want that audio. That audio of that top track is not very good. And I'm not cutting that all up yet. So that is a big, long clip that needs to be edited down. I'm going to pull the whole thing into my timeline and not just parts and pieces of it. And I'll show you why here. So I'm going to select that top track that I don't want the audio. And I'm going to click this little button here to separate the video and the audio track. I'm going to select the audio track and hit the trash can. Or you can also hit the delete button. So now what I should have is the good video and the good audio all synced. Italian sausage, you can use sweet, mild, hot, you can mix it, whatever you want. That looks good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, color correct or grade my footage. So I'm going to do it to the whole clip all at once. I'm going to take my video track, it's the top one here, double click it. There are presets that you can use. LumaFusion will also allow you to import your own LUTs or lookup tables. So if you're really into color grading and things like that. And there are people who sell presets and things like that. Just like for Lightroom, you can buy packages and LUTs for LumaFusion. I have this basic preset that I made that's kind of a starting point for me. This vignette is a little too heavy for this shot, so I'm gonna pull that in just a little bit. And then down through here you can change contrast. I'm starting to shoot the vlog profile in Filmic Pro on the camera that you're watching. It's a very flat, low contrasty profile. So I'll maybe boost the contrast up a little bit. And then down here in my red, green, and blue channels is where I'll basically do some color grading. I'm not huge into color grading for video. It's not my strong suit. Normally, if I'm working on video projects, I hire all of that out. I don't do it myself, but it can be done here in LumaFusion. And if you like that, you say, okay, this looks pretty good, then you can save that. And I'll say this is cooking preset. And then I can go back to that at any time. So I say, okay, I hit that little arrow, brings me back. Now, all of that has been done. If I need to make any audio level adjustments, then I can pull up the audio and just bring it up or down. And there's also some effects and things that you can put on it. But again, I'm not an audio guy. As some of you may know from watching these videos, sorry about those bleeps in that one. Yeah, test your edit in headphones before you publish. Now everything, all my bad takes, it's all in there. And at this point, I will start to edit the video. So if we come back here to the beginning, we've got the clap, and I'll play through, and I'm about to go. Hey everybody. Right there, and I basically these days just edit to my waveform. I look at my waveform right in here. I know that I'm about to say, hey everybody. The little format that I've got going these days that's working for me is I'll start all of my videos off with something silly or stupid or just a quick little 4 or 5 second intro-y kind of thing, and then I start the video on from there. So this seems like a good starting point. I'm going to deselect all tracks, hit the scissor button, and that's going to give it a cut all the way through the timeline, everything that's there. I'm going to select all of that trash in the front and hit delete. And check. Hey everybody, I told you I'm going to do a cooking video. So here we go. I find where I want to end. Out of my comfort zone. All right, I'm going to end somewhere there, and I'm going to hit cut again. Now, what I'm going to do is go over into my albums, and I am going to go to video assets, and I have this outro right here that I've already made. I'll show you that in a little bit. And I want to insert it. I don't want to put it, I don't want to replace any clip. You see that yellow, that's going to replace it. But when those double brackets show up, that is an insert. And that's going to push everything down the timeline because of that little insert button right there on my screen, and all tracks that I'm using so far are linked together. The big Achilles heel to LumaFusion is 2 things. One is you can't hear audio while scrubbing. I really wish you could hear the audio while scrubbing through footage. And 2 is you cannot select multiple clips at once. So if I want to take these 3 clips and move them somewhere, I have to move them all individually. And that's kind of a pain. And that's one thing that I miss from working with Final Cut or Premiere. How I have my pre-made intro set up is that I have about 3 seconds for a title, and then all this little stuff happens, and then I go on into my video. Now when I made this, I made it with some music, but I've been changing up that intro music lately. So with that track selected, I'm going to hit this little button and I'm going to get rid of that audio track. And I'll find something in Storyblocks later for it. And I'm now going to hit this plus button and I'm going to hit overlay title. Boom. So this title pops up, double click on it. I've been going with this kind of look for my titles. There are a lot of different titles that already come preloaded, and you can pick one of those and then start to change it if you want. So for this, I'm going to pick this, I'm going to move this down. You can change all of these things. I'm going to double click this and we're going to call this Date Night Kitchen right there. And I'm going to do that. And for this O1A, I can just turn that off. Date Night Kitchen. Is that all spelled correctly? It all looks good. Boom. So now I've got my Date Night Kitchen. Completely out of my comfort zone. All right. So let's add some audio to this. I like using Storyblocks. I went ahead and signed up for their annual subscription. And that way I have as much footage, backgrounds, music, sound effects, anything I need for a video, I can go through their library. And it's a pretty good library. So let's look up, I want something cheesy, lounge music for Date Night Kitchen. I can't remember which track I picked for it, but that's the one. That's the one I picked. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I don't need this whole track. So I'm going to take this bracket here, and I only need like 10, 15 something seconds of it. And then I'm just going to drag it down under here. And it's not going to start exactly at that cut. You can see the waveform starting. So I want it to start really close to that cut. Something like that. All right, looks good. And then I'm going to go down here to the end, and then it ends out. I can extend that into the rest of my video. And then wherever I put my playhead with that audio track selected and I hit plus add transition, it's going to add a cross dissolve by default. And I will usually drag that cross dissolve out a little bit more. I also have some dead space at the end of this. Notice how, because everything is linked, as I change this clip, everything comes with it. So I'm going to go just to that black frame there and okay. So now I got to figure out where did I start this, right? And so then I go through and I start, while we're all stuck in our house. There we go. So I'm looking at my waveform, basically. And I'm going to clip that, select there, delete, test. While we're all stuck in our houses. Yeah, so this music audio is too loud. I'm going to bring that whole audio track down. And I'm probably going to take this cross dissolve and drag it further out so it starts coming down sooner. While we're all stuck in our houses. All right, so I do that, and then I find food. Okay, so I end it there. I hit cut. I go to my next spot. Let's say it's here. And what we've got is a Yep. So this I decide I'm going to cut out. I'm going to go right before that waveform starts. That's me talking. And give that a snip. Select my main track and hit delete. Stories, talk about stuff, cook some food. And what we've got is a pound of there. And the reason I put this whole entire track down into my timeline first is so that I can make all of my necessary color corrections, audio adjustments, anything that needed to be done all at once. If I came back up here and selected that and went and chose pieces at a time and pulled them all down in chunks, is any adjustment to color or audio that I would want to make would then have to be made individually to all of those. And there is a way of doing that. So let's say that, let me take the color off of this for a second. I'm going to go delete that and delete that. So this clip is the original raw image out of the phone, and this is the one that I graded. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to hit this little clipboard down here and hit copy, and I'm copying the attributes. Then I select my next clip, paste, and that pastes all audio, everything. If you make an adjustment to just one aspect, you can, turn certain things off or on down here in the attribute. So if I just made a color adjustment and I don't want any of the audio adjustments to be applied to that track, I can turn the audio off and hit paste. So then I just go on down as I keep blabbering on and on and on, and I'm watching my waveforms the whole time, and then I just find where I need to start something, where I need to end it, hit cut, and then get rid of whatever garbage I need to get rid of in front of it. And I just start bringing it down and down and down and down and down. So if you go back and look at my timeline through this cooking video, you're gonna see all the little parts and pieces where I diced things up and made all of these jump cuts. I had an hour and 20-ish something minutes of footage. I got it down to 25 minutes. And I'm like, that's a little long. So I started cutting up some more, got it to 20, and I was kind of done for the day at that point. I watched some cooking videos on YouTube, and I watched this one by Jamie Oliver, and Jamie told a story and cooked a soup, and I think the whole video was 5 minutes. And I'm like, dang, all right, I gotta cut this thing even shorter. The way I'm editing these right now and trying to get them done as quickly as possible is I get the whole thing done, make all my jump cuts and all my slices. I'm not worrying about titles yet. I'm not worrying about dropping any screen grabs over top of anything or adding graphics or punching in on certain shots. I just need the whole thing pretty much cut. Then I go back and I start to add in little B-roll. So somewhere here, I've got this B-roll of fennel, right? I shot that while I was shooting that video. And then once the edit's kind of done, I go back into my footage, find little B-roll snippets, and drop them in over top. Near the end of editing, I then go in and select clips that I might want to punch in on. So you'll see here where I punch in on that shot and then go back out wide. I know that I'm putting my video on YouTube at 1080, but I shot in 2K. And that gives me more resolution so that I can punch in or stay back wide. And that's helpful if you have no B-roll or other graphics or anything to break up the visual of just me talking to a single camera. So what I will do is I will say, okay, I've decided I'm gonna punch in on this shot right here. And in the frame and fit area right here, you have size. And you can go in and change the size of that clip. So I know I'm shooting 2K. I've got maybe twice the amount of resolution. That way it doesn't break apart too badly when it exports. So I'm not going to go in and go crazy, right? I'm not going to do that because the final video will start to look a little pixelated because I've blown it up over 200%. But I'll just punch in a little bit. And I'll find a point where I go, okay, that looks pretty decent. Now, what I do, I go to my clipboard and I hit copy. And that copies that punched in attribute. And then I'll move on through my timeline and I'll find another spot of okay, let's say I just want to punch in on this one. I'll select that clip, hit my clipboard, and hit paste, and that punches that in. Keeps all the same audio, same color effects, same anything else I've done to it. It's just simply that little push in that I'm pasting. One thing that's always fun for me to look at is at the end of a video is looking at this timeline underneath the video, and all of those little marks through there is a decision to be made. And when you do like a 12-minute video and you look back and go, wow, I had to make a lot of little decisions to make that whole video come together. It's just something kind of interesting to look at. All right, this next one I'm going to show you is when I do something that's a screen recording as well as me talking to the camera. So that's like when I do a photo critique. So what I do is I get my camera rolling, main camera, and that's got a microphone hooked up to it. So that's going to be also my main audio. Then I start screen recording on the iPad and I give them a clap. And I do the same sort of audio sync. So I'll put the screen recording on the main track, and then I'll put the iPhone video of me talking on the top track, and then line it all up, and I'll go through and make my cuts and edits. And then when I want to cut back from the screen recording to me, I can simply just drag myself to where I want to. And then let's say I've had enough of that and I don't want me on the screen anymore. I can select this clip, cut it right there, and I can just delete that part. But I still have the rest of it over here. So I'll show you one little thing you can do, like this intro that I made. My good friend and BFF and colleague and just amazing guy, Dan Almasy, made these graphics for me of my name and Dead Pixel. And when I started making content again here on YouTube, I decided, you know, I want some sort of little intro-y kind of something to it, but I don't want to get really involved and I don't know After Effects, and I'm not going to do that. So I took those clips and then I went and just grabbed some video of dumb old me. And what I did is I put it over top of Dan's graphics. I'm going to double click, open that up, and you'll see down here in the frame and fit, you'll see blending. And so you can go, just like in Photoshop blend modes, you can put one clip over top something else and you can kind of just put them together. So I felt like, that looks all right. Give that a play. Yeah, that's fine. And if you've got one piece of music or one piece of audio that you always want to use for all of your intros or outros, you can drop that in there. And then you just simply export that clip. Give yourself some time at the end and the beginning of it. That way you can trim it as you need when you start dropping it into other videos. But it's a lot easier to just make one main intro or outro, export that, and then you have that to just drop into your next videos. Let's just say instead of jump cuts, I wanted to do a transition between these clips. That's easy to do. I hit the little flower icon, I go to transitions, and let's say I'm going to do a cross dissolve. I simply drag it over the two clips and it will dissolve, and I can zoom in, and with that transition selected, I can make it a longer dissolve or a shorter one. And they have several different kinds of transitions, and you can also purchase other transitions. That's one thing I like about LumaFusion is you can import different transitions from other places. You can import LUTs, you can import fonts. So for a fairly simple iPad editor, it's really quite powerful, all that you could do if you really want to get deep into it. So you've got your project all edited. I highly, highly suggest you listen to the edit with headphones on. I made that mistake of not doing that. And you hit this little button down here in the screen, and it's share export. And you can do it, the whole movie, the audio. This is where you can take a screenshot of just one frame grab of your video. You hit snapshot. It also has XML support for Final Cut. That's an add-on. I really don't use Final Cut much anymore these days, so I don't need it. But there is Final Cut XML support, so if you're wanting to mix the two and work back and forth, There's some way of doing that. So I'm going to hit movie. And here you can export it to your photo library. You can do YouTube, Vimeo, so on. I'm going to do photos. And these are all the different settings that pop up. Basically, I will just pick 1080. That looks good. Video quality, I usually do extreme. I don't think I need ultra. 48 kilohertz on the audio, that's fine. I'm usually like H.264. All of these are just standard. They work great on YouTube. Here at the bottom, it tells you the estimate of the file size once you're done, how much space you have left on your iPad, things like that. And you hit the old export button, and it does a really quick job of exporting. Depending on how much stuff you've done to your video footage and how many different video tracks you might be running, then it's uploaded to YouTube, Facebook, whatever. So there's more to this app than that. You can get pretty deep, but it's a really easy app to just get started with. So to sum it up, I'm really happy with this editor. I enjoy working with it. I really super enjoy editing video on the iPad. I love that I can use the pencil and then go in with my fingers and zoom and move things and select and use this. And this is like my precise tool, and this is my just move things around tool. It's got keyboard shortcuts. I love that. I like the fact that I can throw any resolution or frame rate clips into it and it will sort of figure it out. Yeah, so that's me putting myself out there, shooting this silly cooking video of mine and editing it. If you have questions, please hit me up in the comments. If you have any feedback, if there's something else you'd like to see, just let me know. Thank you. I bet you I forgot about 10 things in this video.
Okay,
And
what were the things that you wanted to talk about?
I can't even remember now. Just let me know. Thank you. I bet you I forgot.
What were the things that you wanted to talk about?
I can't even remember now. Just let me know. Thank you. I bet you I forgot about 10 things in this video.
Okay,
And
what were the things? What were the things that you wanted to talk about?
I can't even remember.